the first part, we derived the expression for the IS curve, and then in the second part, we looked at the slope of the IS curve, and we looked at how it's affected by MPC and interest sensitivity of investment. Now we want to plot the equation of the IS curve that we found in the first part. So we want to do A5. Now, so from A1, we know IS equation is given to us as R is equal to minus 1 by B 1 minus C1, 1 minus T. Y plus we have C naught plus I naught plus G bar divided by B. Now, in the first part, we also compare this to the general equation of straight line because this is a linear IS curve that we have. So we can compare it to the general equation of a straight line where we said R represents the variable we will plot on the y-axis. Y represents the variable we will plot on the x-axis. And we know what the coefficient of the variable that we'll plot on the x-axis gives us the slope. And the constant term is the vertical intercept. Like we're comparing it to the form y is equal to mx plus c. So we did this in part one. Now we essentially want to plot this IS curve. So how will we do that? So now if we want to plot this, so let's just nicely try to make it. Right, this is R, this is Y. So let's make it like this. This is IS. Okay, it's not do that. Just like this. So yeah, so we're plotting our IS curve here. This is IS. So we know okay, its slope is going to be represented by, we know the slope is minus 1 by B, 1 minus C1, and we discussed this in part 2, that this is less than 0. So the IS curve is downward sloping, and we discussed the economic intuition behind this as well in part 2, downward sloping. Right, and then we have the vertical intercept, which is C naught plus I naught plus G bar divided by B. So this is part 5. Now you want to do part 6. Part 6 is about how when we essentially plot the part 6 is about how we know on the IS curve, all points represent points where the goods market is in equilibrium. So now we want to see, okay, what if you're not on the IS curve, then what sort of goods market disequilibrium do we have towards the right of the IS curve and towards the left of the IS curve? This is the answer for part 6. So let's now try to understand what this is, right? Let's first look at if we are at a point to the right of the IS curve, then do we have excess demand for goods or do we have excess supply of goods? So we want to understand that because on the IS curve we'll have equilibrium, off the IS curve we'll have disequilibrium. We want to see what sort of disequilibrium we have. So let's take this. Let's take point A to be a point on the IS curve. So this represents goods market equilibrium. And let's take point B, which has the same interest rate as point A, but it's towards the right of the IS curve. So we're using the same interest rate. So let's compare point A on the IS curve with point B towards the right of the IS curve. We can see they have the same interest rate, but output at point B is higher than output at point A. So output at point B is higher than what is required for the goods market to be in equilibrium, thus resulting in an excess supply of goods where output is greater than Z. So we have Y is greater than Z, so we have excess supply of goods. Now let's look at a point towards the left of the IS curve. So let's take point C. I will compare point C towards the left of the IS curve with point A on the IS curve. Both have the same interest rate, but you can see output at point C is less than output at point A, which is on the IS curve. So output at point C is less than what is required for the goods market to be in equilibrium. So at point C, output is less than demand, and you have an excess demand for goods. So the idea is this on the IS curve, All points represent goods market equilibrium. Towards the right of the IS curve, output is more than what is required for the goods market to be in equilibrium, resulting in an excess supply of goods where output is greater than demand. Towards the left of the IS curve, we have excess demand for goods since output is less than what is required for the goods market to be in equilibrium, creating an excess demand for goods where output is less than demand. Right, so this shows us how we can interpret points of the IS curve. Now, what results in an adjustment to the IS curve? It's going to be output. Whenever the goods market is in disequilibrium, what adjusts to restore goods market equilibrium is going to be output. So in both cases, what's going to happen is output is going to change to ensure we come back to the IS curve. So at point B, since output is more than what is needed for goods market to be in equilibrium, so output will go down so that we come back to goods market equilibrium point A. And in this case also, output will adjust where because output is less than what is required for goods market to be in equilibrium, output will increase until we're back on the IS curve and goods market is in equilibrium.